Good morning, students. Professor Z here. Today's going to be a quick lesson. I'm going to cover three things about the roof. It's going to be installing roofing pods so we can put insulation rolls inside. And then I'm going to cover the soffit and fascia of the off-grid retreat. So design scope, student will need to complete, your specification plan relating to proper snow load for your region of the build, proper grade of the roof, which is the pitch, of course, the correct R value of insulation calculated, and the design that you will have for your, insulation. There's many types of insulation. You've got, styrofoam cubes, spray foam, rolled insulation, and then, of course, other types of industry standards as well that might be more costly. Tools and equipment, caulking gun, caulk, OSB floor caulk will do just fine. You're going to need a container of number 8 nails, tool belt, generator, because we don't have our solar panels installed. That's coming up in lesson 28. OSB boards. You're also going to have to cut your soffits and fascias. It's going to be 1x10s for my build. Circular saw, square, and then of course ladder, footwear, not to fall off the roof, and make sure it is a dry, sunny day. Doesn't have to be warm, but make sure it's dry and sunny. Step 1, planning the milestone. So have you ever thought about insulating your roof for the most hardened winters, keeping you warm inside? Did you believe that you could install the correct R value of insulation and also do a professional job while you complete your tasks? To get started, take a quick assessment. Your tongue and groove ceiling is in place and sealed and with caulk, of course, and cracks. It should also have the tar paper on it and also have the icy shield if you're using that. So either tar paper or icy shield, but you don't need to use both. In fact, it's not recommended to use both. So again, complete your progress sheet, and I don't need to see it because this is about OPSEC, operational security, and I want you to keep these for yourself. So I built pods, insulating pods. The reason for that is because the spray-on foam was going to be too expensive. We're talking $7,000 to $10,000. And also, if I used, these cubes that they sell, I would also need about $7,000 to $10,000 plus a crane operator. Plus, it would be very difficult to maintain the roof. So I built pods because then I could have a lot of maintenance on my own home if I wanted to. And I've got, essentially I built up a depth of a box of about 16 inches per honeycomb. And then I put insulation inside, and it gives me about an R value of 60, which, you're going to do your own calculation on R value, and also snow load and pitch of your roof, depending on where you're at. All this stuff is going to be code. So if you're living in Alaska, your R value is going to be much higher than if you're living down in Florida. And then the pitch of your roof has to be greater if you're living in Alaska, because the snow has to be able to come off the roof and not build up, because you could actually collapse the house, which correlates to your snow load. So you got those three calculations to do here. All right, so step 2, we're going to create the honeycomb boxes. I used, 2x8s and one 2x10 and stacked them vertically to give me 16-inch pocket. I made them so that they would measure out to exactly 4 feet by 8 feet on center. And there's a reason for that. It's so that I could insert a OSB sheet on that because you want to be able to walk on your roof when it is done. Now this is going to be done through the entire span of the roof and also on wings. And then once these pockets are built, which I call honeycombs, I hoisted up the rolls of insulation, unrolled them, tucked them in, and then of course stapled them, and I put OSB on top, nailed them in place, and then used a roll of tar paper and tar papered over the OSB wood. Step 3, word to the wise and roof working. Warning, warning. In retrospect, you students might have noted, you must be athletic, the construction type of person in order to perform these tasks, especially on the roof. You also must understand your own limitations and be aware of any medical conditions or concerns that you might have in your personal life. Please consult a doctor to see if you're healthy enough to take on a DIY project of this magnitude, and have a thorough physical as well. And then also understand your limitations, and that means to clumsiness, stupidity, ignorance, inefficiency, inaptitude, even to tool utilization, or even concepts that you need to carry out to have a professional grade job. Remember that there's many sharp saw blades used in this DIY project. Objects, lifting heavy objects over your head, walking up ladders with heavy objects, and of course making chainsaw cuts above your head if you have a log home. So you have a lot of powerful tools and also detailed techniques that, if misused, could significantly injure you or even kill you. So, full disclaimer, I'm not responsible for anybody's stupidity or anybody's mishaps or injury, either financial or physical, or even your death. This is all on you. So please, please consult a doctor, and then also understand your own limitations in taking on a DIY project of this magnitude. All right, step 4. So installing the insulation strips. What I did was I lifted up each roll. I'm sorry, I rolled out each roll and then cut the strips about 8 feet long. And since they were 2 feet wide already, I was able to carry up 2 strips each. These are heavy rolls, by the way, so you want to make sure that you don't bring up the roll on the roof. And then it's best to complete one side of the honeycomb pattern prior to moving to the next side, because where I live it's extremely windy. So when I would put in 2 strips, 2 8-foot strips into the pod, which completed the 4-foot width, sometimes the wind would be so windy the gusts would blow them right out and onto the ground again. So I basically had to do one side and then nail the OSB over top of it. And then, once you have one side of the wing, remember I have 6 sides of the roof as we counted, up. It's, 2 over both wings, which makes 4 sides, and then 2 over the great room, which makes a total of 6. So once the OSB is secured, you can actually jump on it, walk on it. I used, instead of tar paper, I used ice and water seal. It's rubberized tar paper, so to speak, and it has a sticky back that you peel off and just stick to the OSB. And then it's very grippy, by the way. So when you do future work on the roof, like installing your steel sheets coming up in the next couple of videos, you can walk on this and not be, cognizant of constantly feeling like you're going to slip off and fall down. So it's kind of grips your feet. It's really nice. And when you're installing tar paper or ice and water shield, be sure, students, that your bottom layers are done first, and then you're going to overlap the next course and the next course. And this is because if water happens to run down, it'll run on the top of the tar paper or ice and water shield. You don't want it running underneath it, and that's what would happen if you did the top first and went down. So start at the bottom and work up. All right, step 5, install fascia and soffit. If you don't understand what those mean, just go ahead and look them up and then come back to the video and we can continue talking about how to install these. So I had to consult my certified blueprints once again, and it was real easy because it was going to be 1x10s around the entire house for my fascia. My soffit was already done by extending the tongue and groove ceiling out 2 feet from the home, which created my soffit. My fascia is what we're going to create here. So what you want to do is you're going to cover up these pods with your fascia, and again, it helps with rain runoff. Is why you want to create a soffit and fascia. Why you have to overhang the ceiling tongue and groove, and then also create the fascia on it to kind of seal everything in. So essentially what I did was take measurements at the peaks. You're going to have the fascia cut at the same angle. Since I have a 12/6 roof, it's essentially 22.5 degree angle that I needed to cut. If you have a 12/12 roof, it's going to be on a 45 degree. If you have a 12/16 roof, it's going to be much sharper of an angle. I think it's like 70 degrees, but I'll have to look that up. Anyways, so go ahead when you got these cut. You can walk them up. I'm sorry. You can walk up the ladder, and then you should have them laid out against the side of the roof. And since they're long pieces, 10, 14, 16 feet long, just grab them and lift them up, and then you can install them by leaning over the side of the roof while holding it, and also by using your screw gun and also screws. I also would recommend renting a lift for this, because it's much easier to install these with a lift, and that's it. So, all right, you did it. This would be a quick lesson, I said, and we're done on this one. So again, please click the thumbs up button below and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.